Welcome to the morning show. We're coming to you this morning on WJOP-LP Newburyport at FM 96.3 on Channel 9 and on Newburyport Community Media's YouTube channel at ncmhub.org. I'm your host, Mary Jacobsen, and today I have the pleasure of talking with Beth Clary and Bronson de Stadler about this year's Newburyport Chamber Music Festival and the distinctive joys of sharing live music together. Beth is board president of the festival. Beth, welcome and thanks for taking time to visit the show.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
My pleasure. Bronson is a member of the board of directors. Bronson, thank you as well and welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's good to have you both here. The festival is a very exciting time of year for me. I know, a great fan. So this is the festival's 22nd year.
Yes.
It's actually underway already. I think started formally yesterday and will continue through August 13th. Please tell us what's unique about the model that underlies the Chamber Music Festival.
Oh, well, I would love to talk about that because it's what really brought me into the festival, I think. I was running a music series through my local church, St. Paul's, and that began to develop, and you begin to get a network. And the chamber music has had a home there for these 22 years or such. And through the process of running the music series, I learned a couple of things, and Beth and I have talked about this. And one of the things I learned that I didn't expect to learn was the way music brings people together. Mm-hmm. And it brings people together in ways that other things do not. Mm-hmm. And I thought I was really so taken and so impressed by that. And it made me think about the world a little bit because our politics tear us apart so much by different belief systems. And even as a religious person, I have to say different faiths really pull us apart because of the different beliefs about whole ranges of things. And so the divisions are there, and we have to try to pull those together. And music really brings people together. So when I had the opportunity to join the Chamber Music Festival, I was really thrilled because their model is really a unique and I think very underappreciated model because it is about going out into the community and engaging with people in coffee shops, in the art association, in public squares, and exposing them to that unifying power of music. And then I think with people exposed to that and experiencing it, hopefully lifted by it, and then bringing people into concerts if that's what they choose to do. But rather than having a whole series of concerts in different kinds of places where you're paying a lot of tickets and you're going to formal events, this is reaching out into people and really trying to engage with them, and also engage with them, as you know, with the intimacy of chamber music. I was thinking about it yesterday, and it's a little. I mean, I love Philharmonic and the symphony and all of that, but that's like an ocean. And chamber music is like a babbling brook or a stream or a small river coming. There's such an intimacy to it. So,
and who doesn't love a babbling brook?
Who doesn't really?
And especially stumbling across a babbling brook, which is what you can do within the greater Newburyport community with open rehearsals. And so one of the ways the model is distinctive, as you were just saying, is that, of course, there are concerts that one attends a venue, but you also might stumble into an open rehearsal almost anywhere in Newburyport.
Almost anywhere.
And then hopefully the excitement and the unexpected pleasure of that musical babbling brook might also let people know about other opportunities to come join together in other ways and other venues. But it is literally a community-wide event.
And I want to put in a plug for neighboring communities because we try and do events in all of the neighboring communities. I think we're doing them in 5 different communities this year. So Merrimack and Amesbury and these other places. So you can also not be in Newburyport and stumble into an open rehearsal.
Yeah, open
in
rehearsal
town.
and really bringing those people together and in the greater Newburyport community and beyond.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the magic of live music.
Ooh.
I know in preparing for this, you shared with me, there's, I think, a telling scene in Arthur C. Clarke's science fiction novel, Childhood's End. Could you say a little bit about that scene and how it kind of frames what's distinctive about our human experience of music?
I'd be delighted to, and the reason I'm giggling a little bit is I've learned after working with David Yang for 5 or 6 years that he's a science fiction person. And if you read his posts on our website, you'll figure that out pretty quickly. And
his posts are legendary.
Yeah. When I was thinking, and he got me thinking about science fiction. He's actually gotten me reading some, which is not typically my genre. But my first introduction to science fiction was Childhood's End.
And it's a good one.
And it is a good one. And I was 12 or 13, and that came back to me thanks to Oliver Sacks and his book Musicophilia, where he mentions this scene, so I was reminded of that. But there are aliens come to Earth to observe humans, and one of the places they observe them is at a music concert. And they are mystified. They don't understand music. They don't know music. Part of their alienness is a lack of music experience. I think Clarke referred to them as, or the aliens referred to them in that book as tonal reverberations or something like that. So they
well, technically.
Exactly. So this really, I'm going to look at my cheat sheet because they were perplexed. They kept on saying in the course of this novel, what is going on inside of humans when they hear music? What is it that they hear? Nothing goes on inside of us. And so they were simply mystified by the notion of music and the emotion that the humans showed when they were listening to music. Not visible the rest of the time the aliens were observing them. Very apparent when they were.
Well, it's cause for sympathy for the aliens, I think, if you have no emotional
Amen.
resonance with tonal reverberations.
I know.
What is life worth?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, let's talk about what it is, in fact, that goes on inside us humans. How are we impacted when we listen to music together with others?
Well, I can say a little bit, and Beth can also, because it has such a unifying function to it. And we were talking yesterday, and I was trying to think, how do you unpack that? How do you unravel that? But as I said, so much of our lives are filled with division in very way. I mean, it's filled with a lot of coming together with families and society and all of those wonderful, wonderful aspects of it. But it's also division. But this is not about belief. This is not about beliefs. This isn't about prefrontal lobe, This is about experiencing something. So it's kind of like, looking at the sky above or something. There's no belief about it, it's just there. So music it transcends this idea of belief and what you feel or what you don't feel or whatever. And it brings people together in ways that are often very unexpected. Mm-hmm. And I have a very good story about that, if I may.
Oh, excellent. Please do.
Okay, so I again, I've gotten into music, and I laugh with Beth. I'm not a classical music person. People talk about titles and this, and I don't know what they are. But I just know that I love it, and I experience it, and I feel it when I'm there. So I'm friends with one of the music teachers in town. There are many wonderful music teachers in town. Penny Lazarus is one of them who does really extraordinary things about promoting black composers and female composers and Native American composers. Yes. So I help her with her recitals. So I was at a recital recently, and there's elementary school and kids and middle school kids, and then there's a couple of high schools and one or two adults. And the kids, the boys are all dressed in their little white button-down shirts than the khakis that their parents have bought for them. Parents have bought for them, and the girls all have pink and spangly dresses, and the parents are there, and the grandparents are there, and everybody's beaming, and I mean, it's a very feel-good kind of experience to see them go up and perform. Well, at this particular day, at the back of the pews at the church was this guy, and he was wearing a kind of black goth T-shirt, and he had kind of jeans, with the requisite 2 layers of chain coming down, right? And I couldn't even read the words on the goth T-shirt. And then he had, an earring with something that, not just an earring, but one that dangled down and had something dangling with it. And he's there with his girlfriend, and they're kind of chuckling. So I thought, well, he's just there.
He's an outlier.
No, he's there because his brother's playing, and his parents bullied him into coming and supporting him and all of that. So I was sort of chuckling a little bit about that. I was up in the balcony doing some of the tech stuff. So then, about almost towards the end of the concert, she gives this name. This kid stands up. He's in his mid-20s, walks to the piano, plays a Chopin piece, which was absolutely beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I was amazed. And so when the recital ended, I went up to him and I just said, that was beautiful. I can't tell you. How did you get into this? He said, well, I used to play when I was younger. We had piano lessons and I didn't do it. And I don't know. I just sort of started doing it this summer and I'm really enjoying it. And I love Chopin. And I thought to myself, I'm having a conversation with this guy. I would never have a conversation with this guy, and he would never have a conversation with an old guy looking like me either. And to me, that really just brought crystallized the way that we could get them together in such diversity.
Music brought you together, shared love of music. And it's always good for us to shred some expectations and assumptions.
Yes, and
any
judgments.
Opportunity that we get.
And to shed those beliefs, those judgments come into our belief systems.
Right. Well, thank you. That's a great story.
Thank you.
Well, Beth, you've told me that you make it a point to attend a live concert at least once a month. So tell us what makes that a priority for you and how you feel you benefit from it.
I do have a classical music background, but there are people on the board who are incredibly knowledgeable about, various pieces. That is not me. I am in it for the love of music, and it crosses all genres. So I do go to concerts at least once a month because I'm a word person. I'm a writer, an editor, and a person that likes to talk. And there is some balance in my life when things are expressed without words. And that would be music. Nothing does it better than music, in my opinion. And I just keep on having, I think the hook for me to return to live concerts is, I missed it terribly during the pandemic.
Oh, yes.
Terribly. Yeah. It was like something had broken, something had broken, right? But the hook for me is the crowd. I will say the only other place I experienced this is Fenway Park, but it's a very different kind of experience. There's not silence in the crowd or things like that. Because I go to jazz and to rock and pop and classical as well, there's different people.
Yes,
and right. at these events, and it is the music, but I come away feeling like I've shared something with people I don't know, and with people I know, because I usually go with someone else at least. And there are a couple of examples that have left a huge mark on me. In 2016, my husband and my sister and I went to a performance in Beverly at the Cabot Theater. A terrifying experience in a way, because we were up in the balcony. And if you've been to the Cabot, that's a little bit iffy.
I haven't. So
it's just old. She's the grand old lady, but she's just a little rickety. And we went to hear the band Gaelic Storm, and they got their kick off when they performed in Titanic, the movie.
Oh, okay.
And they have gone nuts since then. They're a blast. They're really fun Celtic music. And there were people of all ages, all backgrounds, all attire. I mean, it was an amazing crowd. Probably one of the most diverse crowds, interestingly, I've ever been to. And at the end of the concert, we were all, standing up and feeling great and hoping they'd come back on. And this was 2016. And they came out and said, we're playing music from across the seas, and we'd like to remind everybody that we're all on the planet together. So join us in our encore, and it was Stand By Me.
Oh, great.
I get chills still. And here I am, there's a guy looking like your Chopin dude, huge motorcycle-looking guy, standing next to me, and people put their arms around each other and started singing this song. I mean, come on, that doesn't happen anyplace
No,
else.
it really doesn't.
And even here with the Chamber Music Festival, you're sitting at a House Musik, which is a sight reading party more than a concert. It's very informal. And the musicians are interacting with the audience, and then they play something magnificent. And people are all, rubbing their arms because they've got chills or looking at each other like, holy smokes, here we are with 29 other people hearing something we'll never hear again. And that's the other piece of live music. It's never, ever going to be the same. It's a one-off. So for me, that's the clincher, the gathering.
You're a great front woman for the beauty and the wonder of going to a live concert. That sounds like an amazing experience. And I think everybody can relate to that feeling that comes up perhaps too rarely in life, where you share an experience with other people. And it's literally awe-inspiring. And you get that feeling of connectedness, and your adrenaline pumps.
Yeah, absolutely.
That sounds like an amazing experience. There is something that makes me think about how different it is when you're sitting alone at home listening to your CD or Pandora. you know, there's just something about the type of the tonal reverberation.
Yes.
The tonal
There you go.
Yes.
The physics of it are just different. And of course, we are mostly water.
Yes.
And I think our bodies physiologically respond at a vibrational level to those tonal reverberations when you're actually in the room with the instrument, whether it's somebody singing or whether it's musical instruments. And we have a visceral response to it that's just different from the quality of vibration that you get when you're listening to something at home by yourself. And it does, and you sense that other people are having that kind of reaction too, because a lot of emotion, it is wordless, but it's tangible and it's emotional. And, we spend a lot of life with our words in our heads and our thoughts, and yet beneath the surface of those words, there is an emotional vibrance and babbling brook going on all the time that we often just don't pay attention to. So I think music also affords us a kind of a catharsis.
That's a great way of saying
that. Other experiences in life don't always enable us to tap. Some of those, even more than a babbling brook, like an underwater river, I think, that is beneath the surface of our consciousness. And I think it's really good for us to tap into that. It makes us feel, I guess, more human, is how I would put it. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. I think you said it so well.
Yeah,
I mean, just hearing you say it, that tonal
Well,
vibration.
you prompted it.
Well, and the water. I mean, we are made of water, and we are visceral, and we are all that. It made me think that my daughter took cello when she was younger, and her teacher said that the cello is the closest sound to the human heartbeat.
Isn't that interesting?
It's always stuck to me.
Yeah.
Well, and David and I email about a lot over the course of the year leading up to this, and recently he was at a festival in England, and they performed a piece that will be performed by a completely different set of musicians this next week. And he was saying the reaction from the audience was notable. And he said, I think this is one of those pieces that is beautiful, and you can appreciate it recorded, but live, he said, I'm so excited to perform this piece. And I'm not going to tell you what it is because I want people to come, and they might hear the composer's name and think about not coming. But I'll tell you this. I used to live in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They have a superb Tulsa chamber music program there where they bring in the Danish String Quartet, Emerson String Quartet. And you get to go listen to them in the normal way and not in the chamber music festival way. And the Danish String Quartet was in Tulsa, and I went with a man who was considerably older than I am on a Sunday afternoon, and they were going to perform Britten's String Quartet No. 2. I thought Britten was a vocalist. He performed choral music, so I was like, wow, this will be interesting. And the first violinist stood up and spoke to the audience, very small audience, and said, I want to give you context for this. This is a string quartet in C major. It's our happy chord. Right?
Okay.
But he and Jascha Heifetz had just been to holding camps and concentration camps around Europe immediately post-World War II. And while this was a piece commissioned by somebody in England and dedicated to somebody not associated with any of that, he was heavily influenced. We know he was heavily influenced by the spirit of what he observed while he was traveling in Europe. And he said, so brace yourself, and we will meet you in the lobby for intermission. Highly unusual that they come out for intermission. This was the last piece before the break. And so, we settled into our seat and listened to this. And by the end of the second movement, I didn't see a dry eye in the house.
Wow.
And this 80-something-year-old man that I was going with grabbed my wrist and squeezed it until the piece was over.
Wow.
And when we went out into the lobby, we were all sort of embarrassed almost at how profound it was. And why were we crying in C major? What did it mean to cry in C major, And they came out and said, forewarned, this is a powerful, powerful piece. And so I'm a little bit nervous and a little bit excited that this piece David referenced that he performed with a different group of musicians in England is going to be amazing.
But
here.
you think the spirit of the experiences he had touring around just communicated themselves somehow.
Yeah, how could they not, right?
How could they? I guess so. How could they not is right the way.
Ooh, I'm so excited. This
Well,
is
we're all
helping me
just gonna
get
have
even
to-
more excited.
Yes.
We're all just going to have to go to everything so
I
we
think
can stumble
so.
across
Yes. I
that
think so.
particular deep babbling brook.
Yes, yes.
Well, yes, and even, I was also, it's not as profound as quite exactly what you're talking about, but the sounds of these transcend time, too. I was, just before I was coming, I was reading about, which I think it's her first time, Dambium, the violinist, and she's going to be playing a 1683 violin.
Oh, wow.
And that sound is someone was listening to it in 1683.
That's cool.
Blows my mind.
Hadn't thought about it that way.
Unifying across time and space.
Yes.
With the human experience.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about some of the specifics of what we have to look forward to. You mentioned there's many different kinds of events for different generations, different communities beyond Newburyport, and many of these events are free, I should add. But tell us about some of the events that are going to be happening, particularly ones, I guess, that you're really looking forward to.
Okay, I'll go first
You go.
because much as I
it.
love the concerts, the open rehearsals are my favorite thing. And I have to say I tip my hat to Anne Verrett Speck, who was president prior to me and also volunteer executive director. God bless her for doing all that work. And she stood up at the first event I ever went to. I wasn't on the board. I had just moved to town. And she said, if you attend as many of the events as possible, you will hear the same music play, and you will hear the way these 4 individuals who have never played together before are top-notch, world-class musicians, how they put together the program to be performed. And she said the open rehearsals are the best way to get a sense of that. And so I was like, okay, I'll go to the open rehearsals. And so I did. And you get to eavesdrop on their conversation. They play it one way, and then they say, well, let's slow it down. You know, it's just a breaking.
So you can hear what difference it makes.
And we made a little movie a few years ago for the Chamber Music Festival, and there was one of the violinist in it has this great quote, which I wish I could remember precisely, but she said, musicians putting together a chamber music program is democracy in action, because we are saying, what about this? I don't think so. What about this? Oh, I kind of like that. You know, the back and forth that ends up, you know, resulting in a piece that maybe a musician doesn't want to play it that way.
Yeah.
But they do because the group decides they wanted to. And that's just colored my adoration, actually, for the open rehearsal model, especially so close together and in a short time frame. You're not going to just one open rehearsal before a concert. You have the chance to go, I think it's 4. It's either 3 or 4 this year around town, and in Merrimack we're lucky enough to have one there. So that's my favorite part. So come to the open rehearsals. They're really cool.
2 of those venues will be Jabberwocky and Shikoku, I believe.
Right.
And you can get the dates for all of these at the website, newburyportchambermusic.org.
Right,
You can easily look up. All the events are listed there, so you can check out, you know, which open rehearsals are on what days at what time. So go buy a book.
Yeah, and that
or
too.
a whoopie pie.
Yeah, that too, yes.
What about you, Bronson? What are you particularly looking forward to?
Well, all of it.
Everything.
I mean, ditto to what Beth said. I think the open rehearsal with Jon Deak, who's the composer, who put Rhina's poem
Rhina Espaillat, the jury.
To music. So he's going to be at the open rehearsal on August 11th, and that's going to be at the Art Association.
Okay.
So it's a wonderful, total immersive experience to be in the Art Association, hearing the open rehearsal, just as you said, back and forth, and then with the composer, and getting in sync with the composer around how they're going to play this and how it's going to be performed. I'm very much looking forward to that, and I think I'm very much looking forward to the concert at the Space, which is a new venue in Amesbury. That's Zach Field's drum studio, but it's a whole performance space. It's going to be quite different, and Rhina will be there as well, and Jon Deak, and then the final concert, which is really going to be the crescendo, and Rhina's going to be reading, and it's really a celebration of her 91st birthday.
Exactly.
What an extraordinary articulate person and personality. And I saw your show with her. I watched it a couple of times, and it just she's amazing.
She's enchanting.
She is enchanting, is a word. So I'm really looking forward to that concert and hearing her read, hearing his piece. And hearing, I think, the culmination of all of the conversations and open rehearsals that Beth has been talking about.
And it's important to note this year, and if you read David's blog, you already know this, but there is more music repeated this year than perhaps in recent years, because David's trying, he's a teacher at heart. I mean, he's a musician and an artist and all of that, but he has a teacher's
DNA
sensibility, and he wants us to hear these pieces that will never be heard the same way again more than once, so that we can make our own mind up which way we preferred it. You know, did we like it the way they did it at the rehearsal? What about at this concert? Oh, what about at that concert? So a lot of people in the past have been sort of dismissive if there's a repetition. Please do not. It will be different every single time.
And that reminds me let's put in a plug for David's talks. There will be panels. And again, you can find information about him. David has a way when he talks about music and composers of making them come alive. He not only creates the context for the biography of the composer, but the tenor and the culture of the times the composer was living of, and how these things are reflected in the music. It's always fascinating. So check that out on the website as well.
And the emotional and mental well-being of each composer is a big factor in it too.
Yes.
So
Right.
of course.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and let's take note that the closing concert, which will be the one with Jon Deak's setting for string quartet and soprano of Rhina's poem "The Jury,"
Yes.
is being offered in a very special way. I mean, it'll be the 13th Sunday at St. Paul's at 4 p.m. But tell us about the Pay What You Can endeavor.
I'll let Beth start with that.
This is a big deal for us. We are a small nonprofit, all volunteer, except we do pay our musicians and our artistic director. But no staff, no nothing. So we operate on a very tight budget. So for us to offer this, we had to really believe in the reasoning behind it. And so Pay What You Can is actually quite large in the post-pandemic world. Arts organizations, museums, dance, theater are all trying to get people to come back and experience art again. So it is a trend. We're part of a wave. I believe Tito, Theater in the Open, does some events. Pay What You Can, I believe the Firehouse does too. So it's even a local thing. We decided to do it for a variety of reasons. Honestly, I don't think enough people understand that the Newburyport Chamber Music Festival exists and what high quality it is. So it's a promotional thing. Again, honestly, we really want people to understand that chamber music is so accessible. It's written for people. It's not meant to be highfalutin or anything. It's very accessible. Well, how do you make it accessible if you're charging $30 or $40 a ticket? It's, David wrote a little blog post. Saying if my wife and I, when we had little kids, wanted to go to a concert, it would be $80 for the tickets, and then whatever the babysitter was, and that doesn't include dinner. So that's asking an awful lot of, say, a young family. Or you're a grandparent and you'd love to expose your grandchildren to this. Well, here we go. This is an opportunity. You can pay 0, 1, 5.
Right.
Or if you're feeling like this is very cool and you want to support the organization and the concept, pay 100, pay 1,000. We'll take it.
Yeah, we'll take whatever comes our way.
So we don't know what the financial impact of this is going to be on us, but it seemed like a perfect coincidence of people and opportunity, because Rhina, as you two know, knows no boundaries with her love and affection for humanity. And so she's from the Dominican Republic. She works very closely with the Dominican communities around us. Throw open the doors. Get people who don't have as much money. Get people who may have never heard chamber music before. Come on in. That's the theory. So please do come. We have capacity. I would love to sell out, but we haven't yet. And, we're not judging at all. We just want people.
No, it's serious. I mean, we had to talk it through.
Yeah.
We had to talk it through because it's a shift. It's a mental shift to think of it in that way, and you have to pay musicians. These are all freelance musicians.
Yeah.
These are people who are independent. They've chosen not to work for a specific orchestra and all of the rules and such. So they travel. That's why all of these people are coming from different places and live in different places. After I leave here, I'm going to Logan Airport to pick up, and I'm not going to pronounce her name right, Celine Paidassi.
I'll just say Solène.
Solène.
I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
All right, I'll just say Solène.
Solène.
I mean, I'm picking her up from Logan. She's coming in from Paris.
Wonderful.
I mean, so these are all, it's a leap of faith to be able to support these people and support the concert, but also open the doors and have music be open and our hearts open to it.
Right. Well, it's a wonderful opportunity and a great way to reach out to invite everyone in and make everyone feel welcome and included. I think it's a great idea, and fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Well, and once again, the website where you can get information about all the events and concerts we've been talking about is newburyportchambermusic.org. Check it out.
Yes.
Well, Beth, Bronson, it's just been so much fun to talk to you, and I'm just so excited now I can hardly wait.
Me too. Me too.
Thank you once again for taking time to come on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very
for
much.
having us, Mary.
Very
It's
much
been my
indeed.
pleasure.
Grateful.
Well, that's it for today, everybody. But please do join us next Thursday at 9 for the morning show when I will be welcoming Dr. Minji Kim, the new music director of the Newburyport Choral Society, and the legendary piano teacher, Penny Lazarus, who will also be with us to talk about the upcoming logistics of how to become part of the Newburyport Choral Society. So you don't want to miss that. Once again, thank you, Beth. Thank you, Bronson. Take care. That's it for today, everybody. Farewell. Be well.